Hello everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. Before I go any further, you could please subscribe down below. Lots of great videos going up. Kirsty's back, she took some time off. Rob and I will be doing a lot more Instagram lives, asking questions and Q&As. He'll be doing that with other moderators as well. One of the cool things, as I say in a lot of videos, and why we have 10 moderators, one thing we're all pretty good with is spotting reassurance. We also have different perspectives from each of our journeys. We all have different fears. Some of our fears overlap, but it is really interesting to see what worked for some people and what didn't work for other people, why we all use unconditional self-life and other acceptance to get under our chronic fears and stuff like that. So this is a really good channel. There's 541 videos as of today on the channel. Lots of great free resources. So, Moment wanted me to do a little bit of an interesting video. I was going to plan this video out. I think he actually wanted me to plan this video out, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to turn the camera on like I did and just go with it and tell you a little bit about myself and why I think in the perspective changes for myself with my relationship and so forth. So I will start by saying I do not have ROCD. I'm not saying I couldn't have it in the future. I just don't have it right now. I've never had any latched fears with anything that, you know, fear of cheating, fear of the unknown, fearing if my partner loves me, feeling the right feelings and stuff like that. I have a pretty good understanding of ROCD from Kirsty and Hannah. Their videos are tremendous. So if you want to learn more about ROCD, definitely suggest watching their videos. I think they're awesome. I think their personalities are really cool. They can be really calm and collective, and their thoughts are put together really, really well, where someone like me might cater to someone who's a little bit more hyper and stuff like that. And you got to find the right person to listen to if, you know, it doesn't work for you. But if the information they're telling you has validity, that's more important than the personality of the person itself. So, and that is important to talk about. So I'm going to talk about this book today. And this is one of the Albert Ellis's books he's written. It's called How to Stop Destroying Your Relationships, A Guide to Enjoyable Dating, Mating, and Relating. I've actually never read that. A Guide to Enjoyable Dating, Mating, and Relating. What a funny guy. He actually was really funny if you listen to some of his speeches and talks on YouTube. So let me give you a little bit background about my relationship. My wife and I have been married coming up on 3 years in February. I always get our marriage date wrong. I'd always say it's February 1st, where it's February 10th. It could be backwards in that. I don't know. She calls me dumb all the time for that. But, you know, we went through a really tough area in our relationship. So I'm going to tell you a little bit personal details about myself. I have struggled with women for a long time, a lot of my life. I saw things in certain ways, and my beliefs patterns were really bad. I also had a lot of other addictive personality traits that made me not know how to basically be in a relationship properly. So the number one thing, OCD or not, when you're looking at a relationship and what you hear in recommendations and you hear from other people is that the other person is the reason why we got divorced. The other person is the reason why we separated. We are constantly putting this voodoo magic in an external source. We're constantly saying the activating event, the person doing something to me, is the reason why I had to leave the relationship. We're not talking about domestic violence or if they're beating you or something really crazy like that, where you don't want to stay around from that. This isn't as black and white as people make it out to be, but in the majority of cases, a lot of decisions are made in the OCD realm when it comes to ROCD on instant, I need to know right now. We all know how that feels. I need to know the answer right now. You don't need to know the answer right now. So let's say for an example, you find out your fear actually becomes true. You find out that your spouse cheats on you, okay? You cheated on you on a vacation after 15 years, right? They're like, look, I made a gigantic mistake. I'm not happy. Blah, blah, blah. You weigh the pros and cons and you look at the relationship and you end up staying together. Most people cannot fathom that because there's so many irrational beliefs about trust. You know, if someone breaks your trust one time, you can never trust them again. That's just not true. Humans lie a lot and humans can be really untrustworthy. That doesn't mean they don't have other great attributes, like maybe having really good qualities of being a father or a mother, and they're maybe really responsible in other areas of their life. So it's not as black and white as this person's a cheater, and then they are labeled entirely as a cheater. Remember, identity, identity relationships, identity politics, identity religion, anything where you are the identity of the thing you attach yourself to is not good. Bless you. Whoo, I felt that one coming on. So Eric and I have been together for coming up on 5 years now, married for almost 3. And, I definitely would say I had a lot of poor qualities when it came to the way I treated Erica. Erica could have left me a million times over. She found me being, verbally unfaithful in times, cyber issues. She, I would be very crass and rude to her in a lot of ways. And a lot of people were telling her to just leave me. And she could have left me. That's her decision to leave me. She didn't leave me for reasons unknown, or reasons I do know about. It's just not the way how Erica sees and her perspectives. And she does believe that people can change. And this is a huge thing to talk about. So when you're going through, well, first of all, before we talk about the book, let's talk about some of the common fears with ROCD, the ones that we all know, okay, right? The just right feeling in the relationships. Where does this even come from? In society, we have a ton of beliefs based on the fairy tale dogmatic belief systems about relationships we're going to look like. If you break down marriage in its purest sense, it's irrational. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but it is irrational. You are promising someone that you are going to be with them for the rest of your life when you don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's a very, very funny thing when you start to see things in a rational sense. And it doesn't mean that it's inherently wrong, but, it mainly is in its premise. Marriage doctrine is irrational. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that because it is true. So, again, it doesn't mean that marriage is a bad thing inherently. It just means that it's not the most rational thing, including many other things in life that people do, like MMA and boxing and fighting and stuff like that. They're fun to watch and they might be fun to partake in. Doesn't mean they're the most rational things. But yeah, so we do know that when you marry someone and you say the words, you say your vows and I'm going to be with you the rest of my life and I promise to so-and-so. Well, the divorce rate in my country, in America, is over 50%. So that doesn't even make sense right there because people get divorced all the time and stuff like that. So all you can do is you can move day by day and you can work at problems in the way that you see fit. And so we have the fear of the just right feeling, the fear of cheating, of unknown, looking for certainty. The other reason why the cheating one sticks is because the irrational beliefs we base around cheaters, the same thing we base around the pedophilia fears, POCD, and the harm fears and stuff like that. The reasons why these ones can become really latchy is because of societal belief. Here's a great one for you. This is a total mind fuck. If dating 14-year-old people as an adult, 40 years old, you date a 14-year-old person, remember just a hypothetical example, was deemed good in your tribe, you would never have POCD because you're not afraid of it, because it's deemed okay by society. This is really deep stuff. And when you start to get into this stuff, you start to realize that cannibal tribes, all right, they look at sacrifices and murder as a good thing. So why would harm OCD latch to them? Because that's not something that they're afraid of. Comfort. Why did somatic OCD latch with me really bad? Because of the fear of needing to be a constant illusion of comfort all the time. So fear of cheating, fear of just being right, the fear of the unknown, the fear of the right partner. You're never going to know. You always hear the one, this is the one. You don't know that. There's no such thing as the one. There's just a person you met at this point in time that you have things you have in common. You certainly have things you don't have in common. There's no such thing as someone you have 100%, I hear, we have everything in common. No, you don't. You don't have everything in common. That's not true or rational. You might believe you do because those ones are very big and maybe the values you hold and the way you like parenting. But there's other things that you don't like. She might like pineapple on pizza and you might hate it. Pineapple on pizza, that's disgusting. But yeah, so you don't agree on everything. It's just humans are very, very black and white in their terminologies, and it can be really problematic for relationship standards. So in the book, How to Stop Destroying Your Relationships, a guide to enjoyable dating, mating, and relating. As I was reading this book, which is such a good book, it doesn't have, everything to do with the OCD sense, but the philosophies and the perspective shifts are really important, is that it comes down to one thing. And guess what that is? Your reaction and your choice and your belief about a situation. Just because someone cheats on you, and remember, agreement doesn't mean acceptance. It doesn't mean you have to like the act. It doesn't mean you agree with the act. You can accept that person for who they are. So let's say we have a person that has a lot of good deeds, a lot of good things you like. They give away money to charities. They started a nonprofit, and they're honest, have integrity with their taxes, and they have a lot of good traits with father. They come home and take the kids out, and then they cheat on you one day. Okay, they go for some crazy dungeon party, and you find it out. And that really hurts your feelings, and understandably so. And then you have all your friends telling you that person's an evil person. How could they do that to you? They've betrayed you. They've had one act of betrayment. They haven't betrayed you in your entirety, because that would mean they've lied to you on every single thing they've ever done, which is not real. I'm sure there are people out there that lie a lot more than others, but to say that they lie 100% of the time, I don't believe that's a realistic thing, even if at the psychopathic and sociopathic level. I still think there's honesty in them at times. It just doesn't rule as much as, say, we do with the integrity and honesty. So, that's a really important thing. And then the relationships, you have a belief about honesty and integrity, and you think that the person must be honest all the time. They must have integrity all the time. They must be loyal to me, and they must, and they must. Now, what we do is we would prefer these things to happen. We would prefer for people to trust us. We would prefer for people to have integrity. But what we don't need is we don't need it, an absolute must. And this is what gets people really stuck in ROCD. I've talked to Hannah enough. I've had a couple conversations with Kirsty, and I've watched every single one of their videos. I've watched all 541 videos on the channel. Not in a compulsive manner anymore, but for learning purposes, with helping people in the community and learning more about different types of fears besides my own. Because there's overlap in a lot of them. Differences, but overlap in a ton, usually with the unconditional self-life and other acceptance. So accepting your partner for who they are unconditionally means what it says, unconditionally, and not agreeing with the act. So again, they come home, they're a gambler, and they come home and they say, look, I gambled away $100,000 of our money. What? What did you say? $100,000? Yeah, they did it. Most people, evil person, terrible person. And then they're not putting themselves in that person's shoes. Remember, we're not agreeing with the act. We're just trying to look at it through a perspective lens. And there actually is a major difference between rational thinking and rationalizing. Because rationalizing is not unconditional. It can be used in a conditional manner to rationalize something, to make yourself feel better about it. It's okay. But unconditional self-life, other acceptance, you say in that example, I don't like what you did, but I can accept it. And even though you might not choose to stay with them in the long run, but in the OCD sense, we know that we don't need to act right now. Even OCD or not, you don't need to act right now, but people make it out to be that you have to act on something immediately. And that's just not true. But yes, there's a lot of cool things about in that part. So I realized that some of the traits that, let's say my wife and I, we didn't agree on, and I know Hannah has talked to me about this. I don't think she would mind me telling this, about some of the stuff that how her and Harrison different. Eric and I have different sense of humors. I like dark humor. I like political humor. I like to make fun of things. I'm a jokester. And she didn't always like that. And that's okay. I don't want to change that about her. I don't need to change that. She also doesn't need to like what I like. That was a hard thing for me to get too. I mean, she didn't always, I would try to force her, try to like things. So I was pushing conditional self-acceptance on her. And then when it comes to the cheating thing, again, cheating is not let's break down cheating, okay? Number one, humans have been cheating forever. There's tribes out there where cheating and marriage swapping and wife lending and all these other things is deemed as an important part of the culture. Actually, in the myth of self-esteem, they talk about this in the Polynesian culture. I can't remember where this, but I think it's South America. But so the perspective is the driving factor. That wife lending and stuff here, or say swinging and cheating, is deemed as is inappropriate and evil. But in there, the act is the same, but it's deemed as societal greatness. Still the same thing. It's still cheating. Belief here, evil. Belief here, societal amazingness. It's just a belief. That's all it is. Now, I'm not saying that the behavior is good or healthy. We know that consistent lying and consistent cheating behind people's backs doesn't lead to true life fulfillment for most people. We also know it doesn't lead to good, healthy habits. So you have to sit down and weigh your options. You weigh your options like a normal human. You say to yourself, even if my partner cheated on me, does that mean he really is the terrible person that I make it out to be, him or her? Even if they've been cheating on me since day one, man, they're great with my kids, and they're understanding, and they have all these other, qualities, and maybe you will get separated in a year from now. Maybe. That's not saying you have to stay with this person. You're deemed to have to stay with them forever. But I do think it is important to look at it from that perspective of, doesn't write them off as a human. We just write humans off way too easily. I know cheating is a big one with ROCD. And they're just right, the one. There is no such thing as the one. Erica could leave me in 5 years from now. Erica could come walk in tomorrow and be like, I'm leaving you. And I could either completely freak out about that, or say to my, cry and be very upset, but frustrated, and understand her decision as a human and go on with my life. There's different options that you have. You can go with the conditional road, or you can go with the unconditional road. And remember, that's, again, I have to say it again and again and again, it doesn't mean agreement. Agreement's not acceptance. It's the biggest misconception that people get wrong. If you have a fear, real quick, we'll go to harm. If you have a fear about being a serial killer, you don't have to agree with that. I hear people, I saw it the other day, I am not a serial killer. But your brain will go, well, what if you are a serial killer? What if you kill people in your sleep? And then you're really screwed, because you really don't know with uncertainty, So it's going with uncertainty and rolling with it. And love and passion and these words that humans use in the way of absolutes. We don't know what love is. Love is subjective to every single person. There's healthy traits and non-healthy traits. Some are healthier than others. Some are not as healthy as others. It's just very, very black and white. You're just a human in a relationship with someone. You have some things in common. Maybe you have more things in common than your last relationship. Sometimes you get along. Sometimes you don't get along. Sometimes you don't get along for a couple weeks. Sometimes you don't get along for a month. It's not as straightforward. And when you have these straightforward black and white thoughts, it really tends to latch in there. I hope you like this talk. I actually think it went pretty well. But the book is right there. So, and I'll read you some of the stuff on the back. So, getting your relationship together by getting yourself together. That's number one, which I have outlined. So, realistic views of couplehood, communicating and problem solving, better sex for better couplehood, saving time and money and enjoying more life, having children or not, deep connections, and then, just basically how to keep your relationship in a healthy place. And remember, it's not always going to be lovey-dovey. It's not always going to be yes, yes, yes. You're going to disagree. That's part of life, unconditional life acceptance and stuff like that. So don't let anyone out there tell you that there's the one. Don't let anyone out there tell you there's a perfect relationship. Perfect in its pure sense is irrational. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and have a great day.